Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is crunch time in the middle of the damn night. Here we are, happy to be joined by one of the sharpest minds in the biz, kind of walking us through. I don't even know what sport I feel like we should be talking about a football game that's happening or a football game that's happening. But no, this is a basketball slate in the middle of the night, Ice.
Yeah, it's one of the weirder ones I can ever remember. I think it's the latest lock time for the main slate that we've ever had. I mean, I certainly don't remember one that's later. So very interesting one. Obviously have Thursday night football going on as well. Wanted to give you some props on you had a weather call on the Cleveland Buffalo football game. you want the over, and now you just had the nut run out because they're going to the Dome and playing indoors.
Yes, I felt good about that over bet because A, it's not going to actually be snowing in Buffalo at the time. And B, I thought there was a chance that, yeah, they move it. Fanduel, some other sites made the bets void. DK and a few other spots keeping that over bet at 41.5 indoor. So thank you. Yeah, I felt pretty damn good about that. I post all those bets on scoresandodds.com. And if you're not on it, you should be. So thanks for the love, man. That was
41.5 is where you got it, and the total's already up to like 49.5. So it's a smash.
So am I supposed to bet the under now and try to middle it? Is that the thing to do?
I mean, you could. I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'd feel real good about my 41.5 that's now sitting at 49.5.
Yeah, I'm going to be super pissed if I end up losing that bet after doing everything right. But hey, this is shocking to me. I didn't expect this. There are actually people watching here in the middle of the night. A few people saying, "What's up? Thanks for being on. Best slate of the year." I don't know about that. But yeah, we're happy to be on here and happy to bring you some content here. There's honestly more people watching than I thought. So, hey, shout out to everybody who's jumping on with us, and shout out to you, Ice, for making the grind, the late night grind. You want to talk about this slate a little bit? Overall, 3 games, and I'll be honest, I haven't looked at anything, but I'm the weatherman. I don't have to.
Yeah, it's an interesting little slate. I think we have all the injury news that we were waiting on, so shouldn't have to do any juggling around or anything with late breaking news. Knock on wood, it's the NBA. You never know what can happen. But we had Keldon Johnson questionable. He's officially in. Paul George was questionable, and Kawhi Leonard got a midday upgrade to questionable. So Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both in. Be Kawhi's 3rd game of the year. So that is an interesting dynamic there in the Clippers game. And not only is he in and active, but he is in the starting lineup confirmed as well. So we currently have him for 20 minutes. He hasn't played over 21 minutes all season long. I don't expect them to push him here against Detroit. Something to keep an eye on. It kind of muddies the water on that game, honestly. Blowout potential anyway, just because they're playing Detroit. But now you add Kawhi in the lineup, it's even more blowout potential. The game I think everyone's going to be focused on is San Antonio and Sacramento. There's a massive 237-point total in that game. Both teams ranked top 8 in pace in the NBA, and both teams are bottom 5 in defensive rating. So there should be plenty of fantasy goodness in San Antonio and Sacramento. Keegan Murray out for Sacramento, the only thing there. And the Spurs, they do have McDermott listed out, so we might have some fringy value plays on San Antonio that we'll be looking at. But that is definitely the game that appears to be the juiciest as far as fantasy production.
Okay, juicy, but it's not as if, Keldon is out. All these guys are in, all the stars are in. So I imagine we're going to be kind of struggling to find some value here in this 3-gamer.
Yeah, that is the case. Like, it's really hard to play Kevin Durant. I think building with one of the stars in the 9K range is probably the more optimal way to go. But that does lower Kevin Durant's ownership on a short 3-game slate. So you can do some weird stuff. I think game stacks are always the way to play shorter slates. I'll probably be building majority 3-2 game stacks. I don't think I'll do all San Antonio, Sacramento. I do have some interest in stacking up Brooklyn, Portland as well. So,
okay, all right, very good. Quick note: apparently it's halftime in the NFL, so good timing there. And Hoosiers is in the chat. He says, "Well, I'm almost hammered, but here we go." I didn't think about that. You have the show at the middle of the night, and half the people watching are going to be drunk. But hey, I approve, and I wish I could join you. All right, let's kind of break this down here. We like to start on FanDuel. If you don't mind walking through a cash build and then talking some tournament pivots, is that cool?
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Okay, and
So
first, before you do it, Ice, I do have to mention, if you haven't signed up with the FanDuel Sportsbook and you're in a legal sports betting state, do it. Take advantage of their bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to 1K. Also, don't forget, we've got the single entry, the FanDuel single entry tournament ongoing. Reserve your entry at the $5, $33, $100 entry. You get weekly and seasonal prizes. You just should be in that every week, every slate. You should do it. Okay, I'm all done, Ice. It's all yours.
all right, we did just get a Kings lineup in, which I was waiting on, making sure Terrence Davis is in there. He is, in fact. It's going to be Fox, Davis, Herter, Barnes, and Sabonis, as we had projected. And Spurs looks good too. That is exactly as we had it projected for the day. So no surprises there in either of those lineups. Good news on that front, because Terrence Davis is one of our premier value plays here on the slate. But we wanted him in the starting lineup to make sure that we could play him. So he is tagged as a meansy core play here. He's only 4,300 here on FanDuel. A very easy play now that he is confirmed in the starting lineup. We are also on the other side of that game looking at Devin Vassell at 6,800. Guy's been scoring a ton, been playing all the minutes. We love the game environment here. So Vassell at 6,800 is another one that makes a lot of sense. And Zubac with his matchup against Detroit, no Isaiah Stewart for Detroit. They struggle on the defensive end, one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. Zubac just 6K here on FanDuel. So we're going to go ahead and lock him into the center spot.
Okay.
And then just going through a couple of your options here, position by position. De'Aaron Fox is one of the best spends on the slate. Talked about the game environment already. Outstanding matchup against San Antonio. Priced up a little bit here on FanDuel compared to where he is on DK, but 9,600, still a fair price for what he's doing. Been playing a bunch of minutes, and he's been getting more rebounds and assists than he did last year as well. So Fox is a pretty safe play. After that, I think you are looking to either Paul George or Domantas Sabonis as your second spend up. I want to play Sabonis. He's a little bit more expensive than George, but with Kawhi in that lineup for the Clippers, it's just a little bit tough to trust. I mean, I still think that George is the guy there, and Kawhi is going to be limited on the minutes. But if you can get to Sabonis, I would prefer to do that.
Okay, and we did get a question on Kawhi. It was any restriction on Kawhi, and it's not like a hard restriction, but you just assume there will be one.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to project a guy who's played 2 games and a grand total of like 41 minutes in those 2 games to play anything above 20. I mean, I would put a ceiling at like 25, 26 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't see any way that he's playing 30 minutes in this spot.
Fair enough.
I think that there's some room up now that he's in the starting lineup. Like 24 wouldn't surprise me, 20, but in 26 even, it's hard to see him going higher than that. And we're not getting a huge discount on him either. So it's not like we're looking to play Kawhi. It's just what he does to the rates of the rest of the team that makes the Clippers tougher to play now.
Okay, perfect. Let's keep rolling.
All right. A couple other guards here that you might be looking at. Trey Jones, I think, is just too cheap in this San Antonio Sacramento game. 6,300 for him. Definitely want him in one of the point guard spots, I believe. And then you could look for some value like Josh Hart or Jaden Ivey. I will mention Lillard is in play as well. If you don't want to go all the way up to Fox, Lillard is 600 cheaper than Fox. I think that's totally fine. But really, it's Jones is standing out. The core guys, Vassell and Davis, are in there. And then we're looking at Jones for sure, I think. And then I would prefer to spend up to Fox, but if you don't have the 600, Lillard would be fine there as well.
Okay.
Moving on to a couple of forwards. Golden is in a great spot here. Army Man says 20 to 25 is what he heard. I don't know if he saw that on Twitter or if a Clippers beat reporter tweeted that out, but that's right in the range of what we have him projected. So that's what we're expecting as well. So Keldon, I think, is a great mid-range play here in the best game of the night. KBD, Bates Job, is one of those fringy value plays. I think that you can work in there to make everything work. He's been playing a lot of minutes here recently. I mentioned Doug McDermott out for San Antonio. he should be pretty secure in that mid-20s, upper 20s minutes range. And he's been producing a little bit here. He's only 3,900 on FanDuel. He's not starting. He's playing off the bench. But with McDermott out, I think we can feel pretty secure about this role here. He's a value play that just kind of makes everything work. Other guys that are in consideration, Joe Harris is 3,800. He's going to play the minutes. Need him to score a bunch of points as he doesn't do much else. But we're kind of starved for value. So that's the plays that we're dealing with. Josh Hart at 5,900. He's going to be out there for 30 plus minutes, 35 minutes more than likely. Royce O'Neal, another guy that plays a ton of minutes in this 5K range. Could certainly look to either of those guys to save some money. And then at center, we mentioned Zubac as the cash play just because of that 6K price tag. There are certainly some pivots that we can talk about in tournaments, though you don't have to force them into every lineup.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of those pivots here for tournaments.
All right, so just kind of work back through it then, because center, especially on FanDuel where you can only play one, is going to be the easiest way to differentiate here on FanDuel. Nick Claxton in a great spot. I mentioned wanting to stack this Brooklyn-Portland game a little bit. Very close spread here. You can see these teams push each other, 2.5 points on the spread. It is the lowest total of the night, but I mentioned the Clippers just being difficult to play with Kawhi entering the rotation and up the rates of some of the guys that we were looking to play on the Clippers. So this Brooklyn-Portland game is definitely the pivot away from the much more popular San Antonio-Sacramento game. And Nick Claxton, I think, is a guy that makes a ton of sense there. And then instead of playing Keldon Johnson, you could play Jakob Poeltl. He's priced up, but I mean, he absolutely smashed in his last game. 54 FanDuel points in the last game, 31 minutes. Has another fantastic matchup here against Sabonis, who hasn't played well on defense. He's been finding himself in foul trouble often. So Poeltl, even though that $7,800 price tag feels uncomfortable, certainly in play for tournaments. If you wanted to mess around with some cheaper things, I think Bassey could be in play. Just if that game gets out of hand, maybe he gets a little bit of extra run. But yeah, center's a good way to differentiate. Claxton and Poeltl would be my two favorite ways to do that. Mm-hmm. I talked about Kevin Durant a little bit. It's tough to fit him in. You're going to end up on uncomfortable things like Joe Harris and Bates Diop. But I mean, he could put up a score that far exceeds anyone else on the slate. So I think playing a good amount of Kevin Durant on a slate where he's going to be.
Yeah, it was mentioned here. I don't know if you saw him like shitting on all his teammates in the media prior to this game. Did you see that by chance?
I missed that one.
Oh, it was great. He said, I don't know why people don't think I'm a leader. Look at these people I play with. And he starts naming his teammates, talking about how shitty they are. The worst example of leadership I've ever seen.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. If you want to go the narrative route, I could see him really trying to show out after.
Yeah, I mean, still playing without Kyrie too. So like he should do plenty here to pay off that price tag. Pretty good matchup against Portland as well. I will be underweight on Paul George. Just there, Steve pulled up the
yeah, that was excellent. It's so good. It was about him being a leader. Oh man, that shit makes me laugh. All right, continue.
Yeah, so the Paul George, I'll probably end up underweight on Paul George. Again, I think he's a great play. It's a great matchup. But with Kawhi there, I'm taking a fade stance on that last game to go overweight on Brooklyn-Portland. Let's see if there's any other names here that I haven't mentioned. I mentioned Lillard. I didn't mention Simons. Simons is a guy who has a pretty good ceiling. We've seen him put up monster games as well. So I really like Simons as a pivot for tournaments. Even Lillard is going to be lower owned than somebody like Fox, though. So like both of those Portland guys as tournament pivots.
Okay, very good. Kick it over to DK.
All right.
By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube for free, make sure you hit that like button. That's all we ask. Doing a show in the middle of the night, I should be asleep. I have to whisper because I got babies sleeping upstairs. All we ask is just hit that little thumbs up. Give us the like. That's all. Let's talk some DK.
All right, not too much different over here. Means he has Terrence Davis tagged again, just 4,300, jumping into the starting lineup. Should be a lock for it. We have him projected for 26 minutes. He got up to 26 minutes after coming off the bench, starting the second half last game after Murray went out. So that 26 could be light on Davis. There's definitely room up. He's clearly the best value on the slate. De'Aaron Fox is the other tag over here on DraftKings. Mentioned the price tag on FanDuel being 9,600. He's just 9K over here on DraftKings. So definitely think you want to pay up for De'Aaron Fox. Let's see here. So on DK, we have a couple other value options that are entering the conversation in addition to Terrence Davis and Bates Diop, who I mentioned over on FanDuel. Josh Richardson is only 4K. Again, McDermott out. There should be some usage available with the second unit here. Richardson is a guy who's actually been playing fairly decently for the Spurs. Should have a little extra run available with McDermott out, missing from that bench rotation. So he's viable. Vassell absolutely in play as well. A little bit pricier here on DK, so tough to fit in. Trey Jones is the easier one to fit in at 6,100. Royce O'Neal is another guy I mentioned over on FanDuel. Can certainly plug him in.
We got a question about Burks in a GPP. I'm not sure what position, if he's guard or forward. But if you don't know, then you probably don't like him.
Yeah, well, he wasn't on my radar. Let me see here. 4,500 against the Clippers. I would much rather target the Spurs value just because of the game environment. Burks with the matchup against the Clippers it's a much tougher spot than San Antonio going against Sacramento, who plays really fast and is one of the worst defenses. So okay. I'd be looking at Spurs. He's fine for tournaments, but as far as cash games go, I prefer the Spurs guys.
Okay, that's fair. Forward?
Just a couple of forwards here. I mentioned Keldon. Harrison Barnes is 4,900. I think he's a way to make everything work here on DK. And then the center position, it's not as clearly Zubac here as Claxton is a good amount cheaper. So I think Claxton would be my first center in, and Sabonis being center only. I would prefer him over George as well. Let me see where George's price is here. I think he's priced up on DK. I have Sabonis. Yeah, George. So George is more expensive than Sabonis. They were flipped on FanDuel. So very clearly for me, Sabonis is the play over George on DK.
Okay, very good. Hey, random. Did Harrison Barnes, didn't he sign a max contract at some point? Am I making that up?
I don't know if it was
I'm not making that up. Yeah. Yeah, he did. 4 years.
Wasn't that with Dallas though, or something?
That was with Dallas.
Yeah.
But it's just how the hell did that guy get a max contract? And now we're talking about him being a value play. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's rough.
All right. Sorry, I'm getting you sidetracked. I think we are either a power forward or center here.
I wrapped up center with Claxton being cheaper than Zubac, so I'd go Claxton over Zubac, and then Sabonis is kind of a must play here on DK, where he's just 9,400 versus Paul George, who's more expensive at 10-2, and Sabonis is center only, so I think Claxton Sabonis would be the way to go at center.
Okay. You want to run through GPP plays, or you feel like you kind of covered that there as you went through it?
I mean, kind of covered it the same. It's more game environment stuff than individual plays for me, especially on the 3-game slate. Like, I love the 3-2 build on a 3-game slate. And with San Antonio, Sacramento having the highest total, everybody can see that both teams play fast. That's going to be the primary game that people are stacking. So love playing the Brooklyn Portland as my primary game stack.
Okay, very good. We do have a decent amount of questions in. We'll take them until lock. If we run out of questions, we might leave before lock. It's past our bedtime over here. So let's see what we got. Okay, DK. Wow. Okay. This is DK cash question. Bojan, Seth Curry, or Hart and J Rich?
That's definitely Hart and Rich.
Very good. I love this question from Steve O. He says, who eats from the Pistons bench in case of a blowout?
Ooh. Eats might be a strong word. I like Jalen Duren as just a super deep tournament dart throw.
Okay, very nice. DK cash question here. You want Sumner or J Rich? Sumner starting. He might get more minutes just for better value.
Yeah, I can certainly get on board with that. 4K. Yeah, I do like the Sumner call there. We have him projected for 23 minutes. I'm just pulling up, like, that's kind of the range he's been in, 21, 25, 22, the last three. Like he's going to be in that low 20s range, which is what we have Richardson projected for too. But I'm totally fine if you prefer Sumner to Jay Rich.
And has Sumner been starting those past games when he's gotten 21, 24,
Yeah,
22?
with Kyrie out, he's been starting.
I gotcha. Okay. DK Cash BHB says Bates Jop or the Sochan?
I'd go Jop. I think there's more usage available for him off the bench versus Sohan in the starting lineup.
Very good. G-Man, DKGPP question here. This is a 3v3 for you. Keldon, Lyles, and Sabonis, or Durant, Royce, and Lyles?
GPP that was?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I like Durant in GPP. I think he's going to be under-owned, and he could smash the slate. I mean, Sabonis certainly in a great spot as well, but you're getting a huge ownership discount on Durant.
Very good. Okay, FanDuel single entry, your very favorite spend up, and would you game stack a FanDuel GPP? I think you said you're about that life.
Yes, definitely. Favorite spend up, I would say De'Aaron Fox. If you want something a little bit more off the board, Kevin Durant.
Okay. Got actually some really fun questions coming in here. Jumping over the YouTube chat really quick. Steven says the old heads in DFS. That's what the kids call people our age now, or my age, the old heads. They used to say, don't project a blowout. Is that still true? Do you ever look at a slate and say, all right, I either want a part of this because it could be a blowout, or I don't want a part of it because it could be a blowout?
So I think on a 3-game slate, you can try to do that a little bit more. It's not something that I generally do. I would just, like, if you want to play Clippers Detroit, I think that's a way that makes sense to play it. To get way off the board, I would be totally fine with taking some chances on guys who are not projecting well but could get additional run in a blowout. So rather than stacking that with like Paul George and Zubac, run back with like Bogdanovich and I don't know. There's just not any great options on Detroit either. But if you stack that with guys coming off the Clippers bench, like a Norman Powell, Terrence Mann maybe, and then like a Jalen Duren and Killian Hayes for Detroit, I think that does make sense on a slate like this, but not something I typically do on a larger slate.
Okay, good answer. Any interest in Nurk in a 3-game slate for GPP, of course?
Yes, absolutely. I should have mentioned him. He's been questionable all day. Price is very fair, especially on FanDuel. He's 6,600, and DK he's 6,800. In play on DK as well, but that FanDuel price is very nice.
Okay, very good. Bates Jop is starting now, and someone in the chat said Keldon Johnson not starting. I don't know if that's related.
That's math. Keldon's been questionable all day. I would not play Keldon Johnson at this point.
Okay, well, let's pivot then. Assuming
Yep.
Keldon might not go, let's talk about, I mean, that's got to help a ton of Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Bates Jop
starting Jones, Vassell, Bates Jop, the Sohan, and Pirtle.
Yes. So let's see here. Of course, I had to jinx this by saying there wouldn't be any breaking news. Yeah. Yes, Bates Diop, I would say, is a cash must. I would say Vassell, who already was, is a cash must. Trey Jones is a cash must as well because of his price. So those 3 Spurs, I would say, are locks in cash. I think you could even consider Pirtle over Zubac at this point. I don't think that you have to do that, though. Zubac is still a great play, and he's significantly cheaper. I'm trying to pull up the bench here. San Antonio guys. So Richardson, I would definitely do. Yeah, I forget who that question. The question about Richardson and I'm losing the name of who he asked. Sumner. It was Richardson versus Sumner. I would definitely go Richardson there now. Like the Spurs all get a bump because I assume this means that Keldon Johnson is not going to play at all. I don't know why they would play him off the bench.
Sure. So now are you more interested in stacking this game for tournaments? Are you like, can you put 4, like what, a 4-2? Like,
yeah, because of the value now, I think 4 is totally viable. And I almost never do 4 in tournaments. 3 is usually a rule that I put in, but on a 3-game slate, and they're the best values on the slate, 4 totally viable for the Spurs.
Okay. It's weird. Usually when you have news this late, no one's going to adjust and react to it. But as there are no games that have started, maybe everybody who's playing this slate is already kind of invested. Maybe they catch up. But what do you think? Are we going to see, some of these Spurs come in under-owned now with that news?
Yeah, I think Keldon Johnson is going to still be. I mean, he's probably not going to be the 50% that we had him projected, but he's still going to be like 30%. And I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't see the floor.
Wow. Okay. I wish I was playing right now. I wish, because now I feel like we almost got a freebie here. Okay. I don't know if there's a real person, but Hoosier says Livers is cheap.
He is. Yep.
Could he close in a blowout? There's someone named Livers. That's
for Detroit, Isaiah Livers. Don't hate that at all.
Could he close? Could he close in a blowout? Yeah.
Yep, he could.
All right. Is it crazy to play Monk over Davis from IMAX?
Not in a tournament. No, totally fine.
All right. BK says, Roth, did you give Meansy shit for talking you off of Bassie a few slates ago? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I did indeed. Don't you worry about that. All right. Hey, let's see. With that, we've actually caught up on all the questions there in the YouTube, caught up on, let's see, all the questions in the Discord. By the way, if you're in the YouTube, you should jump into the RG Discord. It's the best spot to hang out. It's where I take all our questions from first when we're doing this free show. So make sure you're joining that RG Discord. Let's see here. DK Cash, Richardson Hart, or Barnes Claxton? Man, producer Steve just on it. You see, as soon as I mentioned the Discord, he like popped it up full screen. Devin would be like half asleep petting his cat right now behind the scenes. My guy is on the ball. What did I ask? Hang on.
Richardson Hart, and I forgot what the second was.
It was Barnes Claxton, and that was DK Cash.
Yeah, Barnes Claxton for me there.
All right, very good. Let's see. Sorry to ask this, but is Leonard playing? And yeah, not only is he playing, but he's starting.
Correct.
But you expect there is going to be a minutes limit. We had 20 to 25 kind of in your head, you think? Or
yes, we have him projected at 20. I wouldn't call 25 crazy. Anything out above that, I would be shocked by.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Hey, with that. Oh, no, we got a few more questions coming in here. Let's get to it. DK Cash, Achilles, Royce Claxton, or KBD and Pirtle?
I'd go the Spurs now for sure.
Yeah. G-Man, DK GPP, Claxton O'Neal, or Lyles and Zubats?
First one.
DK last piece, Wall, Bay, or Simmons?
If that's Simons, is that who you mean?
Is
there a Simmons?
Well, there's Ben Simmons, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, give it to me one more time.
It was Wall, Bay, or Simmons.
Yeah, I'd go.
Is Ben Simmons playing on the slate? Did I make
he
that
is.
up? Okay.
He is. I'd go Bay there. Wall worries me with Kawhi, and Simmons just worries me in general.
Is that John Wall?
Yes.
John Wall I had no idea where he was. I had literally no idea what team he was on. Okay. Okay. Here you go. Are you messing with Ben Simmons tonight from Steve O?
I'm not. I don't know. I need to see it from him first.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to score the basketball. So he needs basically 10 assists and 10 rebounds, which he could do, but I don't know. He's cheap. If he decides to shoot, maybe he can get there, but I need to see it first.
Yeah. And you've been saying that all season long, and he hasn't shown it. And like the fade has been the right choice all season long.
And the price just keeps going down. So it's getting crazy. Tempting, but I'm still not on him.
Not there yet. It's tough if a guy's like literally not going to score 10 points. Like he's not going to score 10 points. It makes it hard. Jeremy Grant, last piece in DK Cash.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, very good. DK last piece. Oh yeah, we got that. Hey, guess what? We got all of the questions. We gave out all the info, and right now we just hit the lock. Good job, man. Good work.
Thank you. Let's hope Keldon Johnson does not play, and we can all get some like maybe not 30%, but if we get, I don't know, even 15%, 20%, then rake is paid for us tonight.
That's how you get 10% owned or whatever, then we're paying for the rake, and that's not bad.
Yep.
Few people in the YouTube saying, hey, thanks guys. And yeah, thank you. Glad you guys are hanging out with us in the midst of this kind of late night and NFL game. So let's get back to some sports watching or some sleeping as I plan to do. Ice, you want to say anything before we head out?
Nope. I think we've said it all.
Yeah, I like it. All right. For Ice and for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.